My overall thoughts about it, honestly, I think it just sets a very bad precedent in college football. Now, Lane Kiffin's not the first head coach to leave a team mid-season, in the season, whatever. That goes on every single season. Like there's nothing new with that. The issue is when you start thinking about playoff games and the implications of that, because it's a lot bigger than what you think it is. So one of the major problems that I have with this is that from a committee standpoint, how do you seed Ole Miss at this point? Because yes, Ole Miss, up until before Lane Kiffin got fired, had a very clear slot on where they're going to be. They're making the playoffs. They're going to be seated in this kind of general area and stuff, right? But now, where are you going to seed them when a good portion, or at least an important piece of the coaching staff, literally just up and left, and you don't have an extra game or a bowl game or anything to even decide if this team is still the same team it has been all year without their head coach and a couple other pieces? That's a problem. And especially a problem because the committee's in every single year towards the end of the year, it's a bitter fight to the end of who to bring in, who's not, who's the first team out, why is that? So you have teams like Miami that have just as much of a reason to be in there as any of the other playoff teams, but now you have this Ole Miss team to where it's like, it doesn't feel right to punish the kids and the work they put out on that field for their head coach leaving. However, as we all understand, this is about money. This is about good matchups. This is about revenue and viewership and everything like that. So you may pity Ole Miss, but is it the right decision to still bring them in there for them to potentially get blown out in the first round because they just lost their head coach? Do I think Ole Miss should be out of the playoffs? No, I'm not an advocate for that, but also I'm the same person that advocates for two group of 5 teams that should make the playoffs this year, North Texas and James Madison, but that's a different story. I only say that to say, it's a dogfight out there. It's dog-eat-dog world out there. And I know the committee's going to have a lot of trouble, not only seeding the teams that are first out, like the Miamis and the BYUs of the world, but now throw this on there with Ole Miss not having their head coach and how you're going to seed them properly, because you also don't want to screw them as well. Like, all right, bring them in the playoffs, but bring them down lower in the seeding. Well, in a way, that seems kind of unfair too, because again, you look at the resume, who Ole Miss is beaten versus the teams that you would potentially put in front of them. That would also seem unfair. So I think this sets a bad precedent, and this has been a problem before. NIL has been a problem, for as long as we know. It's just a very high-profile name, and why this needs to be brought up again. Personally, I think from a committee standpoint, or not even a committee standpoint, from the NCAA standpoint, you have to give a rule like that. Like, if you are a standing coach and you decide to accept the job, there's got to be some type of penalty or clause or something like that, just to keep the integrity of the game. At the end of the day, I understand these are grown men. We're talking about families and kids and everything like that. And again, I don't hate Lane Kiffin for doing that. I mean, regardless of LSU being a great institution to coach football for, he's getting paid in a exuberant amount of money. So much money that, no one's going to touch that money for the rest of their lives. And he's getting offered that on a platter, right? He's getting begged that money, So I get it. I don't fault Lane for making that decision. I don't fault Ole Miss for being so stern about it. It's like, hey, make a decision. Okay, you made your decision, get out. Like, I understand from Ole Miss perspective, because they think of themselves as a top institution too. And, you're out here fielding different positions, talking to people and all that stuff, trying to make an exit plan. It's like, all right, just go. Don't worry about it. We'll find someone else. Just go. So I'm not saying there's a right or wrong with this. I just think the whole overall optics and what this could implicate in the future is just bad for the sport. And at the end of the day, what is college football really about? Is college football really about, looking up which coaching staff makes the most money, or lining up coaching salaries with CEOs of companies and all that stuff? College football is about the memories. College football is about the atmosphere. College football is about football. And when you have situations like this that really jeopardize the game, I mean, I honestly, I feel so bad for Ole Miss fans, because it's been a long time since they've been relevant in this sense to where they had a real shot of winning the national championship. And that's really hard on the fans. And again, it kind of defeats the purpose of what college football is and what the beauty of it is. Everyone has their team, and then the 1 year or the one couple years that they're really good and they actually have a chance, let them lose. If they lose, then that's one thing. But getting to that point, and then your coach just leaves right before the climax of getting to the playoffs and seeing what can happen, that's just as heartbreaking. That's probably the worst. And now it's just a what if for the rest of your life, So that's really my thought. I think it just sits. I think it's a bad move for college football. I think college football should have some type of guardrails for that. And honestly, here's what I think is going to happen moving forward, because I almost thought it happened last year. I think what's really going to happen is there's going to be a college football player, like a starting QB, that's going to sit out the entire playoffs because they want more money, because they didn't expect their team to make it that far. And then what do you do at that point? And then he's going to look, it's like, hey, I just saw this head coach leave for a better opportunity and more money. So that's where my head is going. I think there's going to be a lot of copycats that do that. And again, it just degrades the sport itself and what it's really about, and why people really enjoy and go out and see it and spend money on your team and watch them live and all that stuff. If you're not a top 5, top 10 coach and your team makes it to the playoffs, now you're scared that your head coach might leave. It's rough. It's rough. It really is rough. And sad enough, he's not even the only coach to accept the new job while their team is slated to go to the playoffs. Tulane is another one. North Texas is another team, depending on which one of them could make it. Both of their coaches already agreed. They're like, all right, we're leaving. Actually, in the American, top 4 out of 5 teams, head coaches already said that they're leaving, and they're still coaching the team. So it's rough. If I had to say anything, I would say that it would have been nice if Lane was able to at least coach Ole Miss to see how far they go. But I understand why he can't do that. And for people who don't know, your off season and going in is just as important as the season itself. And you want as much time as you can to hire the staff that you need and build the program out that you want to build for your off season workouts, spring ball, and everything like that. So because the playoffs is like a month before it starts, and then if you make it to the championship, that's an extra like 3 to 4 weeks that you have to spend. That's more time invested into a different institution than it is the new institution that you're going to. And it'll just put you guys at a disadvantage for your first year in the new institution if you don't put that time in, build your staff, build your workout program, and start recruiting your kids and all that stuff. So I understand why Lane had to leave, but yeah, it's rough. I mean, you guys let me know what you think. I will say, I think there's one thing we can agree on. I know people might not agree with this, but I know there's one thing we can agree on. Man, the SEC football, man, it's just different. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things I'm willing to do on the Sunday. The last thing I'm willing to do on the Sunday is go to an airport and wait for my new head coach for my local college football team to come in, and then watch him get a presidential escort to the stadium. Listen, I'd rather do something else. I'd rather be on my porch with some nice DoorDash and sweet tea and listening to the Bears win a football game in the background. That's what I'd rather be doing. So, but other than that, man, you guys let me know what you think. What do you think about Lane Kiffin going to LSU? What's your prediction on that? And then just in general, like your overall thoughts on how he handled it, how he decided to leave. You think it was right? Think it was wrong? Think there's other ways you can do it? Let your thoughts be known. But other than that, like, follow, subscribe, check out all of our other content. I'm out. See you later. Good luck in the playoffs.